She walked off a 14-hour flight into Dallas carrying her shoes because her feet had swollen too much to get them back on. She'd taken them off about 5 hours in, which is what you or I would have done on a long flight in economy, and by the time she noticed there was nothing anyone could do about it at 35,000 feet. She still talks about that walk through the terminal. But nobody had ever told her that could happen. That's what links all 17 of these. The things that cost you on a long flight are small and ordinary. You make the decision without thinking twice, and you find out hours later when there's no undoing it. Most of them cost nothing at all to fix, and 2 of them only became true this year. Number 1, the power bank in your carry-on. What's allowed changed in March, and almost nobody has been told. There's an international standard now set by ICAO, the United Nations body that writes the safety rules airlines fly under. 2 power banks per passenger, carry-on only, never in a check bag. And this is the part that surprises people. It cannot go in the overhead bin anymore. It has to stay in the seat pocket or under the seat where a crew member can see it if it starts to overheat. On a lot of airlines, you can no longer charge it from the seat's own USB socket, and some have banned using it in the air at all. Carriers are allowed to be stricter than the standard, and several of them are. Emirates and Southwest allow 1 apiece. They're phasing this in at their own pace rather than all at once, so the airline you're actually flying is the one to ask. And if you travel with a breathing machine or any battery-powered medical device, find the watt-hour rating on the battery itself. It's usually in small print. Anything over 100 watt-hours needs the airline to approve it in advance. Number 2, and you'll only discover this one at 11 o'clock the night before you fly. Seat Guru ran for 24 years and it's gone. It shut down in November, and if you type the address in now, you get a short notice, and then it forwards you to TripAdvisor. A great deal of advice still sends you there to check your seat. The site that took over is Aerolopa. Its maps are drawn to scale, so you can see the real legroom and where the window actually sits next to the seat, which matters if you were planning to lean on it and sleep. What you're hunting for is the row that doesn't recline because of the wall behind it, the seat with a metal box underneath so your bag and your feet have nowhere to go, and the seat parked beside the toilet door. None of that is marked on the airline's own seat picker. Do this before you pay the seat selection fee, not after. Paying good money to reserve the one seat on the aircraft that won't lean back is a particular kind of annoying, and it happens constantly. Number 3, why is everyone so keen on the back row? The pitch is always the same one. Nobody behind you to complain when you recline, and the back fills up last, so you might get a spare seat beside you. Ask people who actually fly a lot and the story falls apart. On a good many aircraft, the last row is held back for crew rest. On a good many more, it doesn't recline, for the same reason I just gave you. It sits beside the toilets, so you get the smell and the flush and a queue of people standing at your elbow half the night. And the meal cart works front to back, so by the time it reaches you, the choice is whatever nobody else wanted. I was 2 rows ahead of a husband and wife who'd booked the last row on a Qantas flight out of Sydney. The open space behind them turned into the play area for every child on board, while the parents slept 20 rows forward. Neither of them said a word about it, which somehow made it worse to watch. Some aircraft do have a last row that reclines, which is exactly why this advice refuses to die. You'd want to know that for certain first, and now you know where to look it up. Number 4 is a sequence, and it goes like this. The meal comes, you eat, you're finished. Now you'd quite like the toilet before a queue forms, but the tray is still sitting in front of you with the wrapping and the cup on it, and it stays there until the crew comes back with the rubbish cart. That can be 20 minutes or more. You can't lift the table with a full tray on it, and you can't get out past the table. So you sit there and you wait, and by the time the cart reaches you, everyone else has had the same idea and the aisle is full. Then there's the version of this that people describe with real feeling. You've joined the queue, you genuinely need to be in it, and the seatbelt sign comes on, and everybody gets sent back. Now you're strapped into your seat with no idea how long it'll be. If you're in the middle of a 5 across center block, you're also 2 strangers away from the aisle. The fix for all of that is free. Bring a spare bag, a carrier bag, or a large zip bag, and keep it in the seat pocket. When you've finished eating, sweep the whole tray into it, tie it, put it under the seat, lift the table, and go. Number 5, ordering the special meal will get you a smaller dinner. The story is that the special trays go out ahead of the main service, so you order the vegetarian and eat while everyone else waits. That was true a few years ago. So many people order one now that on a full flight, a good number of the standard trays have already gone out before yours arrives. And you pay for it in food. The special trays are usually smaller. No bread roll, often no cheese and biscuits, no chocolate, and a few pieces of fruit where the dessert should be. The drinks cart still comes around on its own schedule, so you're eating dry while you wait for it. Then you finish early and sit trapped behind a lowered tray table, which is the problem I just spent 2 minutes on. The medical ones are where I'd be most careful. A woman on a flight I was on opened her diabetic meal and found something no diabetic should be eating. It took a fair bit of negotiating before the crew came back with an apple. I used to order one on every long haul. I don't order them anymore. Ask for the special meal if you genuinely need it, do it at the moment you book, and know that airlines generally close the window a day ahead. Number 6. When exactly do you put the compression socks on? Everybody tells you to wear them. Almost nobody says when, and the when is most of the point. Get them on first thing, at home, before the day starts. By the time your ankles feel tight, the socks have nothing left to prevent. The reason to bother is worth stating plainly. 4 hours of sitting still is where the clot risk in your legs starts climbing, according to the Centers for Disease Control, and that goes for a train or a car just as much as a plane. The odds stay low in absolute terms, but they aren't nothing, and they climb with age. Get the size right, because a sock that's too small is genuinely hard to pull on, and people give up for that reason alone. If the band at the knee digs in, buy the full-length ones instead. Now the part that runs against what you may have been told. A lot of travelers take an aspirin before a long haul to thin the blood. The American College of Chest Physicians, which writes the main clinical guidance on travel and clots, recommends against it for ordinary travelers. The evidence is thin and aspirin carries risks of its own. What it points to instead is walking, working your calves, an aisle seat, and socks that fit. If you're on blood thinners already, ask your own doctor rather than a video. Number 7 takes us back to the woman in Dallas. Hers isn't a rare story. I've heard 2 more like it, one from a woman who walked a whole terminal in her socks rather than try, and one from a man who says it happens every long flight now, and he simply plans around it. The instinct is to say keep your shoes on. A good many seasoned travelers over 70 will tell you that's nonsense, and they've flown shoes off for 50 years, and they have a point. The mistake isn't taking your shoes off. It's flying in shoes that only fit at your normal foot size. Wear something loose or stretchy or a size up with compression socks underneath, and you can take them off and put them back on with no drama at all. Wear something closed at the toe rather than a sandal, because if the plane ever has to be evacuated, you'll be walking on whatever is on that floor. One more, and I got this from an Australian who's been flying since the 60s. Buy yourself a pair of elastic laces. You thread them once, and your ordinary shoes become slip-ons, so you're never bending down and fumbling in a security line with people stacking up behind you. Number 8. The hot drinks cart. That water comes from a tank on the aircraft. The tank lives on the plane and gets refilled at airports all over the world. When the Environmental Protection Agency tested aircraft water, roughly 1 plane in 7 came back carrying coliform bacteria, which is the marker used to show water has been contaminated. That led to a rule, in force since 2011, requiring airlines to sample their tanks and to disinfect and flush them 4 times a year. So it's better than it was. But the Center for Food as Medicine and Longevity published an airline water study this year that still graded carriers from an A right down to a D, which tells you the gap between the best and the worst is real. I'm not going to promise you it'll make you ill. A lot of people drink the tea every trip and are fine, but your stomach is already handling dry air, odd hours, and a strange meal, and this is the easiest of those to take off the list. Stick to bottled and canned. If you want a hot drink, carry a wide-mouth thermos through security empty and ask a coffee shop on the far side to fill it. Number 9, you paid extra for the exit row, and a crew member walks over and moves you. The rule behind that has nothing to do with how old you are. It's set by the FAA, the agency that writes the safety rules for American Airlines, and it's about what you can physically do. You have to reach the door, grip it, turn it, push it, pull it, and lift it. And on some aircraft, that door weighs up to 60 pounds. You have to be able to help other passengers out. You have to manage all of it without help from whoever you're traveling with. And you need to see and hear well enough with ordinary glasses or hearing aids and nothing more. People over 70 sit in exit rows every single day and nobody says a word. But if a crew member watches you struggle to lift your own bag into the bin, they're allowed to make that call. Before you buy one anyway, know that exit rows usually have no underseat storage, so everything you own goes overhead and stays there, and the armrests are often fixed so you can't lift them. What they frequently do have is a full-size power socket rather than just a USB port, which matters a great deal if you need to run a breathing machine overnight. Number 10. The humidity in that cabin runs 10 to 20%. Comfortable skin wants 40 to 70. Even the newest aircraft, the ones with humidifiers actually fitted, only reach about 22%. Across 10 hours you'll lose something like 1.5 quarts of water through breathing alone, without ever feeling like you're sweating. Everybody packs lip balm for this. What actually matters is further up. When the lining of your nose dries out, it stops catching what you breathe in, and that's a large part of why people come down with something a couple of days after a long trip. So carry a saline nasal spray and use it right through the flight rather than once at the start. I carry one on every flight now. I used to get ill 2 days after every long haul, and I assumed that was simply what flying did to you. A soft face mask does something people don't expect too. Worn over your nose and mouth, it holds a small pocket of humid air in front of your face, and the dryness eases off. Buy the kind with a strap round the back of your head, because a whole flight of elastic pulling on your ears will wear you down on its own. Number 11. What is that bag under the seat actually doing for you? Zillion Fu, piss space, and very little else. Pull it out, put it on the floor behind your calves, under your own seat, then stretch your legs forward into the gap where it used to be. You've just bought several inches of legroom at no cost, and you can rest your feet on it whenever you want. Zillion Fu, do one thing to it first. Slide the bag inside a carrier bag before you board, turn so the zips still face out where you can reach them. Cabin floors are filthy, the toilet is a few feet away, and this is now a footrest. And if you're on the short side and your legs don't comfortably reach the floor, that isn't a minor comfort issue. Dangling legs, press the underside of your thigh into the seat edge and squeeze the circulation exactly where you don't want it squeezed. A foot sling, a strap that hooks over the arms of the tray table and holds your feet up, costs very little and solves it. Number 12 is where I'll lose some of you. Premium economy is frequently not worth what it costs. I've heard the same verdict from too many people to treat it as a fluke. A man in his 60s with a back injury told me he tried premium economy on a run out to Asia hoping it would save him, and it changed almost nothing. He later got a proper lie flat seat on a different trip and described it as another world. The gap between economy and business is enormous because one of them lets you lie down and the other doesn't. The gap between economy and the cabin in between is a few inches and a better meal for a price much closer to business than to what you're sitting in. So if a lie flat seat is genuinely out of reach, and for most of us it is, my honest advice is to leave the cabin in between alone. Spend it on the friction instead. Pay for the extra hotel night, the taxi at the end of a long day, rather than the train with the stairs, the aisle seat you want, the longer connection. And there's one thing coming that costs nothing at all, that American law says you're already entitled to, and that most travelers over 70 will never once ask for. Number 13. Everybody says fly non-stop if you possibly can. For a 30-year-old, that's usually right. But it also means you're in that seat for the whole duration with no way out of it. A connection forces you off the aircraft, onto your feet, and along a terminal, which is the single best thing you can do for your legs on a long journey. I've started booking it that way myself on the Europe runs, after years of doing the opposite. If you do it, there's a threshold that matters. 4 hours is the number I'd hold to. Anything shorter, and the second leg feels like hour 24 of one continuous flight. Longer than that, and it feels like a fresh start, with time to eat properly and use a shower if there's a lounge that has one. The honest caution is that every connection is another chance to be delayed, and a long delay is far harder on you at 70 than at 30. So weigh it rather than treating it as a rule. Number 14. Your hotel room won't be ready for another 7 hours. You come off an overnight flight at 7 in the morning, worn out, having slept badly or not at all, and check-in isn't until 2 or 3 in the afternoon. So you sit in a lobby or walk around a city you don't know dragging a bag. The fix is to book and pay for the previous night, the one where the room sits empty. Then it's yours the moment you walk in. And you have to tell the hotel you won't be arriving until the next day, or they may mark you a no-show and release the room. Land in Oslo at 7 off a 23-hour trip, and that one booking is the difference between having a first day and not having one. It's the best single change I know of for long-haul travel, and it costs less than the upgrade you were considering. Do the same at the departure end if the journey to your airport is long or awkward. A hotel by the airport the night before removes the canceled train, the roadworks, and the 4 in the morning alarm all at once. Number 15. Wheelchair assistance through the airport costs you nothing at all. This is the free thing I mentioned. In the United States, it's written into the Air Carrier Access Act, which has been law since 1986. It's free on any ticket in any cabin, on domestic and international flights alike, and you don't have to prove anything to get it. You ask when you book under Special Assistance or Accessibility, and if you've already booked, you add it by phone. Give them 2 days warning where you can, because airlines are allowed to insist on it. TSA Cares is worth knowing separately. TSA is the American Airport Security Agency, and this is their helpline for travelers with medical conditions or disabilities. Ring it 72 hours ahead, and somebody will walk you through the checkpoint before you get there and arrange for a person to meet you. It covers liquid medication over the normal limit, an implant that complicates the scanner, or needing the process to go slower than the line wants it to. None of that travels with you. Other countries have their own arrangements, usually decent and always different. A man I met took his mother to Aruba for a long weekend when she was 101, and when he explains how that trip was possible at all, the first thing he mentions is the wheelchair attendants. Nobody watching those two cross that airport thought anything except good for her. Number 16, the risky part of flying with medication is not the security line. The checkpoint is what everyone worries about, and it's genuinely the easy bit. Liquid medication is exempt from the 3.4-ounce limit, and you can bring what the trip actually requires. Declare it at the start of screening rather than waiting to be asked, and expect it to be inspected separately and possibly opened. No prescription note is required. Leaving the pharmacy label on will still get you through faster than a bare pill organizer will. The real exposure sits further down the line, and it's the delay. Carry more than the trip needs, carry paper copies of your prescriptions, and keep every bit of it in the bag that stays with you. A prescription written at home may not be fillable in another country, and sometimes not even in the next region over. One woman came off a long flight into Vancouver in a wheelchair, then lost 12 hours to cancellations waiting on a 30-minute hop, then another 10 hours in Seattle, then more again waiting on an overnight. Her checked bag was somewhere else that entire time. That's what the spare week of tablets is for. Number 17, plenty of people never sleep on a plane at all. Almost all the advice about long flights assumes you'll get some at some point. And the biggest single response I've ever seen from travelers on this subject was a queue of people saying they've never managed it, not once, and have stopped expecting to. Several said it's got worse with age. I'm in that camp myself, and I made my peace with it years ago. So here's what those people do instead, which is more use than another gadget. They book the arrival for the evening where they can, so they come off the plane and go more or less straight to bed on local time. They call it an all-nighter and plan the next day around that. They pick the dullest film on the entertainment system on purpose because the good one keeps you awake. If they do doze after landing, they set the alarm for 90 minutes or 3 hours rather than 2, so they aren't woken mid-cycle. And they get outside into daylight after a short rest instead of drawing the curtains. One woman who gave up on sleeping entirely reported almost no jet lag, no crick in the neck, and a bag full of eye masks and inflatable pillows she then carried around a foreign country for 2 weeks without touching. There's a woman I think about a lot who is 83 and flies Los Angeles to Sydney non-stop, 15.5 hours, in economy. She books the aisle every time so she never has to climb over a stranger. She reads, she does crosswords, she walks the cabin more than anyone else on board. She can't afford the front of the plane, she's perfectly happy where she is, and she says what makes the difference is deciding beforehand that it's going to take all day and being fine with that. If you've flown a long leg in economy since you turned 60, the comments are the place to say what you'd do differently next time. There are people watching this who are booking their first long trip in years, and they'll take your answer over mine.